Hello, 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 and welcome back to the GTD Podcast. I am the Norax. I speak for the podcast. No video today. My computer has problems, so I'm just going to leave it at that. If you see unexpected cuts, that means my computer overheated. Sorry about that, but there's not much I can do about it currently. The fan in my computer is spinning irregularly, and I can't get it out because I do not have the proper equipment to do so. So that's fun. Fun. It's real fun. But yes. Excluding that, I'm here today with Devin.
Yeah.
And Matthew.
Hello, hello.
Still no Max, unfortunately, but you know how it goes sometimes. Anyways,
yeah.
But yes, we have several things coming up in the podcast, whatever it is. We have several things coming up that we're going to be talking about. We'll be talking about what we've been playing this week. Then we'll be discussing, well, no trailers because we do not have any trailers this week. Yes, I'm aware that a lot of trailers for games have been released because Summer Games Fest, the first part of it has already happened. So yes, I'm aware there's a ton of trailers, but I'm going to save those because by the time E3 is over, which is the end of next week pretty much, there's a lot of stuff to dissect at that point. So I'd rather do it in one big episode than just bits and pieces here and there. So there's that. Then we'll be moving on to host topics. Hopefully we have some. Then swiftly on to news. We have two bits of news. The first bit of news we have is regarding a statement from Jim Ryan on why exactly they do not focus on backwards compatibility, and also technically something related Spyro announcement from Activision. We'll get to that when we get to it. And then we'll do shameless self-promotion and the end of the show. So, without further ado, Matthew, what have you been playing this week?
Barely anything.
Thrill and amaze me.
To my memory. So we're still going to continue playing Spellbound Caves, but we lost the map twice.
Yeah.
Once to recklessness, and the second time to explosion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first time to an explosion, the second time to recklessness, because we were trying to get back to where we were.
I see.
And both times we lost the wall to lava. Actually, the first time it was despawning because we couldn't get down to it. The second time was lava.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds troublesome.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Haven't really been doing much else. I mean, I went on 1.17 and got some ores and mined them. Have a bunch of copper.
All right, then.
I really haven't done much video game playing this week.
All right, then. Okay. So that's what we've been doing this week. You just continuing Spellbound Caves. Don't even have anything interesting to say about it.
I mean, yeah, we died twice. We lost the map on survival mode, so that's really interesting part of it.
Dang.
Impressive part of it, but
yeah, I know.
All right, then.
I just find that hilarious. You guys.
The first time wasn't our fault. It was in that gravel area.
All right, then.
Okay.
So rumbling.
So
sure.
That's what you've been doing this week?
Yeah.
right? And Devin, in that case, we'll move on to Devin. What have you been doing this week? What's been playing this week? What's been doing this week?
Not much. I've been busy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember what I've done this week. A lot of stuff. When someone says I've been busy, you're like, oh, what were you doing? It's like, well, I can list off the 7 things I did yesterday, I think, but I might not be able to list off things I did the day before that or before that. Although at the start of the week, I forgot this. At the start of the week, I had 2 days where I played a ton of Minecraft.
Yeah.
Just a ton. I played for like 6 or 7 hours, and that was a lot of fun.
All right then.
And I got to draft Magic the Gathering with my best friend and my dad and my bro. That was a lot of fun too.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, yesterday I destroyed my arms doing yard work for a friend.
Sounds good.
Not really destroyed me. It felt kind of like hugging a dog for like half an hour. Like hugging a wriggling dog. Like just imagine, okay, maybe that sounds weird. Imagine wrestling with a dog or arm wrestling someone. There we go. Imagine arm wrestling someone with both arms for a while. It felt like that.
Sounds intensive.
Not much else happened though.
All right then. So that's all you've been doing this week? This segment gets shorter and shorter the more we do it. I swear. It's ridiculous. All right then. Moving on to me in that case. What have I been doing this week, you may ask? Well, I've actually been sort of playing a variety of games here and there. Once again, I've been continuing to just play Smash Brothers on and off. I just play Smash Brothers on and off. Sometimes I get a good opponent, and most of the time I don't. It's just it's a vicious cycle of being annoyed, which is not great, but I still like the game a lot. I just wish its player base was better.
I can see that.
Yeah, I've gone on that rant before. Secondly, from last week, I continued my playthrough of West of Loathing. I actually got pretty far in the game. Specifically, I basically explored the entire first half of the game, as far as I'm aware.
Whoa.
Because the main sort of plot device, the thing that sort of makes the story go forward, is you're helping a railroad track be built. What was it called? That's right, the Manifest Destiny Railroad Company. You're helping them make their railroad go all the way across the West. And the first step in doing that is basically being accidentally hired as the new chief boss, and then blowing up a massive set of rocks with a whole year's worth of dynamite. A year's supply of dynamite, and then fighting a rock golem that was inside of the rock thing. Which you don't actually have to fight him. If you have enough points in other skills, you can basically just tell him to leave. What I did, I believe I used the Hornswaggling skill, which is basically I convinced him that there was some. I convinced the giant stone monster to run away because of a torrential wave or something that was going to erode him, and then he just ran away, which is always fun. I also found, I've done a lot of stuff in the game this far. There's one part in the game that I think is vaguely worth talking about, which is clowns have like a kind of big, rodeo clowns have kind of like this big overarching, what's the term? Like they're very prevalent in the game. And in the lore of West of Loathing, if you want to put that much emphasis on a silly stick figure comedy game. Like rodeo clowns don't have any purpose. It's just like a traditional thing they do now because the cows came home, which are all cows in the West of Loathing universe are demonic beings. So when they say the cows came home, demonic cows came to the West and started killing people. And before the cows came home, rodeo clowns did what they actually did, which is the rodeos, Oops. But apparently at this point, it's just a tradition to dress up as a rodeo clown. And you find a traveling circus, which is more like a carnival. And you find a bunch of really weird stuff there. Specifically, all of the employees are clowns, because of course they are.
Yeah.
There's a sideshow with freaks, weird specimen clown eggs, and those bendy mirror things. Honestly, like, there isn't a lot of visual, like, there's plenty of visuals to the game, but like most of what you see is through the description, and they do a pretty good job of making some of the weird stuff seem kind of horrifying and weird, because the freaks, like, there's a freak that's like an eyeball for a head, and like the description of him is genuinely very weird and kind of disturbing, and it's just like you just don't know what his deal is. It's really weird. There's so many different locations in the game that you can go to, and so many random things to just find while you're on the road. What's the thing? Oh yeah. One of the other main things that you do in the game is once you get to dirt water, you can go out and do a bunch of bandit hunting jobs. And one of the last bandit hunting job you get is to go to an old pickle factory and capture the bandits that are there. And something that happens is when you touch the doorknob, you get like possessed by like an evil malevolent spirit, and it goes through this massive description of what happens to your character and whether or not it's a dream or not, which is basically your character basically, like, it's like false memories that he is an employee at this pickle factory and he needs to get to work. It's like, oh no, I'm late to work. I need to do all this random stuff. And there's descriptions for each room, which is actually relevant to the puzzles you have to complete when you go in there. But specifically, the one I remember is there's like the pickle tubes, the salinity, the water salinity, and then a room of boiling vinegar.
Weird.
It's a very funny, weird game. And also the bandits you capture are ghosts.
Oh.
They all died at the pickle factory and haunted it because they needed to make sure everything was correct. You also get ghost pickles at the end of it, so that's fun. Sorry. I dropped a thing. Yes. Yeah, I've been continuing my playthrough of that. It's a really fun game, honestly, and it fulfills it fulfills my very basic need for numbers. I like numbers. I like high numbers. It's like, oh, my points are so high. I love it. Oh, look how much damage I'm doing. You know, it's a pretty competent RPG in its own right, but it's just nice to have big numbers. It fulfills me. Yes. There's not really much else to mention. Like I said before, it's hard to, like, West of Loathing is a game you really have to play because there is so much comedy in just the writing that it's hard to get across. You know, I've said this before, but just if you've never played West of Loathing, go play it. And yes, it is a little hard on the eyes because it's black and white game. So there's that, but it is a very, very fun game. Other than that, though, I, for some reason, started playing Dark Souls 2 again. I've mentioned quite often my relationship with Dark Souls 2, and yeah, I don't know why I started playing it again, but I just before the podcast I was playing a little bit, and I've just beaten the Old Iron King and the Royal Rat Authority. Both of those bosses are not very good bosses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Dark Souls 2 is considered the black sheep of the Dark Souls franchise, and a lot of the bosses in the game are not very good. I don't know. There's just a lot of things I have on my mind about Dark Souls 2, but I when I named my character, I named my character Stockholm in reference to Stockholm syndrome, because I just kind of feel like that's what I have at this point. I just keep it literally is a case of Stockholm syndrome at this point. Like, I don't understand it. It literally, I've mentioned this before, but like every now and then I just have the urge to play Dark Souls 2 again. And then I do it, and then I'm like, why did I do this? And then I leave, and then I come back. It's like it's Stockholm syndrome. It just is. Or it's I've sorry, words are hard today. I've compared it to like an abusive relationship as well, because it's just like you keep the relationship go, like it's an abusive relationship, or it's like you leave but then you feel the need to come back, and then you remember why you left, and but you don't stop coming back, and it's just bad. Anyways, regardless of how I actually feel about the game, I am actually someone enjoying myself in this playthrough.
Hey.
There are still a lot I really dislike about the game, but I guess I'm just not letting it get to me this time around, which doesn't exactly make the game better per se, but I'm enjoying my time with it. And
Okay.
I'm also, well, the other reason I'm doing this is because I'm planning a video. It's going to be a big video about my purest thoughts on Dark Souls 2, and we'll get to that at some point. But anyway, other than that, that's all I've been playing this week. Just playing Dark Souls 2 again for some reason, Smash Brothers here and there, and continuing my playthrough of West of Loathing. So that's all I've been playing this week. And well, I would say we'll just go into trailers, but since we don't have any, we'll just jump to host topics, unless somebody else has something to say before we just continue. All right, in that case, we'll swing over to host topics. So, anybody got a host topic? Excuse me. Matthew, have you got a host topic?
No.
Hey, Devin, you got a host topic?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are your guys' thoughts on making movies in order to be adapted into video games, and or just movies being adapted into video games?
Now, this is interesting because movie tie-in games have had a reputation for a long time.
Yeah, they have.
The reputation has not been good. There aren't a lot of movie tie-in games have always had a very bad reputation, or just games based on other properties. Like, not a lot of them have gone very well, but there are actually a lot of standout examples in the genre that work really well. Specifically, basically anything from Heavy Iron Studios and THQ. Most of their catalog is movie tie-in or property tie-in games, and basically all of them are fantastic. You know?
Wow. I did not know that.
But I don't. So I will say I don't personally think it's a good idea to make a movie with the mindset that it's going to be turned into a game. I don't think that's conducive to a good movie making experience, you know? And, you know, I've pondered certain movies being turned into games before, specifically like the Mummy movies being turned into video games.
I thought they had games.
They do, but my own version of them. Because I'm a would-be designer, so I was thinking about how I would actually design a game around them.
Okay.
And what was the other part of the question?
That was it. Basically, just what are your thoughts on designing games for adapting, and then also on adaptions, just movies in general being adapted into video games?
Well, it can work. We've seen plenty of examples of it working, but
is it better to do that or to just make a game?
I mean, personally, I always think it's better to just do personally, I think it's always better to just create what you want to, regardless of what it is per se. But which does include like movie tie-ins or just things based on other properties. But you also have to accept the fact that different mediums require different care in different things. You know, let's talk about movies made from books. There are things in the medium of books that don't translate well to movies. So you have to, it's an adaptation. You have to make changes because of the way the medium is, which is the same for video games. Like you have to make changes because video games are an interactive medium. You're not passively watching or reading. So you have to make changes in order to make it an interactive experience. Otherwise, it's just a movie.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just a movie, but you get to move around the character.
Yeah, like the Order 1886, I believe it was called. That was a fine example of basically a movie video game. For those of you who don't know, the Order 1886, which I believe came out 2016 or so, it was a while ago. It was incredibly good looking and had a very large amount of cutscenes, but very, very minimal gameplay. And the gameplay that there wasn't that. It was like it was kind of average gameplay. It was like your standard shooter affair, but it had this very unique aesthetic in this like steampunky electropunk world. And one of the aspects of the game was literally you could pause the game and look around in the environment with a camera. So they were selling you this on this game with visuals alone. That's basically what they were doing. And it was a flop, unsurprisingly. Unsurprisingly, it did not succeed because it's not a video game. Not really, anyways. And I will say there are like fine lines when it comes to games and activity or like interactivity, because there's a genre. Well, there's sort of a genre called the walking simulator, which is like not an official term for it. It's just been coined by people because there are specific types of games that fall under this category of the Chinese Room makes a lot of these, where like Dear Esther comes to mind, where it's literally just you with very minimal activity walking through an environment. That is what a walking simulator classifies as. Dear Esther, which is the titular walking simulator, was you walking kind of slowly through a, albeit very nice looking environment, reading notes that are basically divulging the story to you. And I believe the only interactivity other than reading notes was being able to turn on a flashlight. That was it. That's all you could do in the game. You could turn on a flashlight, read notes, and walk. Now, there's quite a few people who like Dear Esther, and I get that. But it might as well, like, my opinion is that if being able to experience a game, if watching somebody play a game and playing the game itself are the same experience, that means you have failed at making a video game. If you can just watch somebody else play a video game and get the exact same experience you would playing it, that is where you have failed, personally. Because you don't have to play Dear Esther. Just watch somebody play it. You'll get exactly what they're getting, with the minus of you holding forward and clicking a button. But the story comes in at the exact same pace. The atmosphere is exactly the same. It's all the same, you know? It's just the same stuff. But
yeah.
I also think like Gone Home is another example of what we would classify as a walking simulator, but I think it does more with its interactivity than Dear Esther does. First of all, you can interact with a lot of objects in the game. So regardless of the story beats, your playthrough is probably not going to be the same, especially since it's not a linear journey through the house. Gone Home takes place in a house. It's about a girl coming home from, I believe it was like vacation or something, to her house, and everybody's gone, and she's trying to piece together what happened. But it's a non-linear journey through the house, and like you can interact with a lot of objects, and there's a lot of stuff that not everybody can find on their first playthrough. So I think Gone Home does it better and more acceptably. You know, it has elements that denote a game. Where were we? Adaptations, that's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was basically going into that because there are fine lines that, you know, are like games are this way because they have to be this way. And if you delineate from that path, it's not going to succeed as much because it might as well just be a different medium altogether.
Yeah.
Like I don't get what's the point of creating something in the video game medium if it's not going to be interactive. You know? Like that's the biggest difference between every other medium. Interactivity. The player is choosing what to do. It's not a movie. It's not a movie where you're telling the protagonist to get over there. You're making him do it. You know, it's like, take a horror movie example. It's like, you know, everybody shouts at the guy who's about to be killed to turn around, but he never does. In a video game, you just get to make him. Or do something else. Maybe you chainsaw the monster in half. If the game...
Or a cutscene could start.
I mean, yeah, but it all, like, cutscenes are another weird thing because cutscenes are important to... I think cutscenes are important because they allow unrestricted storytelling to the player. Because sometimes sometimes players will miss story if you don't feed it to them. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. It just makes it harder for somebody to enjoy something. Like, well, you know, it's like when you have stories that are told in a non, like, cutscene based way. Like when you have a game that just gives you dialogue during gameplay, and that's what the story is being told to you through. It doesn't, you know, it's the potential to miss it is there.
Yeah.
When it's a cutscene, you can't miss it. You know, and also games have tried to make cutscenes interactable, like with QuickTime events and stuff like that. So even within cutscenes, there is some form of interactivity. But you know,
Yes.
You know, I mean, yeah, but like people have like shat on quick time events for a long time, but
I
as
just
long
don't
like
them.
if they're
I-
done correctly, I think they work.
Eh,
God of War series is a game series that has mastered quick time events to me because they're intrinsic to the gameplay
all right.
and they work really well. Something like Ashura's Wrath, for instance, which is basically all quick time events, but with these big, bombastic, ridiculous things. Like it works. It flows well.
Okay.
You know? Like in God of War, specifically, like there are, the big thing with God of War is like if you kick down enemies enough, you can like press circle above their head and then initiate a quick time event sequence to like kill them in a fantastic way or do something weird and interesting to them. And like, and that's the other thing about the button prompts, like they're contextual button prompts. So it's like, oh, you swing your sword this way, you better press the left button, they're contextual. So
yeah.
they go like your button press actually feels like it's aiding in the action.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion on the matter. Obviously, other people have differences. I'm sure there's many people who hate quick time events, regardless of what form they're in. But
Well, like here's the thing. Quick time events that are quick time events are slightly different than cutscenes. So an interactable thing where you don't really have as much control over movement, if it happens in a predictable way, like you say, like if it's like when you get near the enemy, the camera changes angle a bit, and then when you start attacking the enemy, it changes, like the whole camera moves over, and there's a reason for it, and the reason is to be able to see what's going on more, so you can like make your character do some kind of cool looking thing. That's cool. That's a positive use of it. But it's just if it's just like you walk up to an enemy, oh, suddenly cut, now you're fighting the enemy.
Yeah.
Or something, just any cutscenes annoy me. I think
Yeah.
it's mostly Pokemon's fault.
I will agree.
Because Pokemon is so good at misusing them.
A lot of modern games from about the mid 2000s had boss cutscene syndrome, as I like to call it, where essentially you kill the boss in a cutscene. You know what I mean? Like that happens. That actually happens a lot, and it's really annoying.
Yeah,
it's like you do, like you press buttons and stuff, but it didn't matter. The cutscene was going to happen anyways. And also outside of like, honestly, there's a lot of like, I can't really think of any standout bosses from the last 10 years, with the exception of like very specific franchises. Because in bigger, more popular franchises like Call of Duty or not Saints Row, what's it called? Assassin's Creed, or like these long running open world crazy things, there's not a lot of standout bosses in them, or any at all, to be perfectly honest. Like actually, I believe it was Assassin's Creed 2 was really shat upon for its final boss, which is like this weird fight against this guy that's like not a fight at all. Like it tries to make you straight up fight him, but there isn't really a fight at all. It's just kind of like a lot of, I can't quite remember, but it's like it's not very good, and it was like criticized a lot at the time. It essentially, like, you're fighting this, I don't remember exactly who he was, but he's like this bigger guy, and like the fight essentially goes down with you pressing a single button to defeat him. That's basically it, from what I remember. Like you can basically just press a single button and kill him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow. Yeah, I wish I could remember the exact details of that one, but it aids in my example. There's also, boss fights in RPGs that have a turn-based or active combat system.
Yeah.
Which are slightly different from action-based bosses. But yeah, because Dark Souls did bosses really well.
Yeah, Dark Souls does. Dark Souls
Dark Souls
Dark
does
Souls
bosses
has some
really
of the best bosses I've ever seen.
well. Yeah. I honestly, I've been obsessed with bosses. I'm obsessed with bosses as a concept and as a tool. I love them. I absolutely love boss fights, and I love the idea of them. I love this idea that you have this enemy or this challenge presented for you, and it's a culmination of something. You know, it's allowing the player to get over the next hurdle in their adventure. And final bosses. Oh my god, I love final bosses so much. I think I've discussed this before, but you might have noticed sorry. What is going on with me? Why do I keep stuttering? I know this is like weirdly changing the subject, but you might remember when I talk about D&D some, I kind of say like, oh, I have this song for this boss, and I'm just like, damn it. That's one of the reasons. I'm kind of obsessed with boss fights. I like the idea of them. I like putting them in things.
Yeah, I noticed.
But final bosses, especially for me, are one of my favorite things because it's literally the last hurdle. It's the last thing to do in your quest for beating the game. And there are a lot of really, really good final bosses.
Oh yeah.
Even a lot of the original Mario games have fantastic final bosses against Bowser and the likes. You know, and some of this comes from my love of music and video game music, because final bosses usually have some of the best music in the game. You know, I'm just gushing about bosses at this point. I've stopped criticizing video games. I'm just like, God, I love bosses. Yeah. I just really like bosses. Sorry if I went off on a tangent slightly, but moving back to interactivity in games and also movie adaptations and stuff like that. I think personally one of the greatest examples of a video game movie adaptation is, weirdly enough, SpongeBob the movie game. So a video game based off of SpongeBob the movie. It's a collectathon sort of platformer, 3D platformer, and it goes through the story beats of the film. You know, with all of the areas from the film as levels and some of the other stuff. And it works really well. It's a absolutely fantastic game. And it also, as when I was talking about, it sort of ties back into my boss idea, my talking about bosses, because it also has one of my favorite final bosses in any game. So at the end of the game, instead of just like, oh, you know, you free all the bikini bottom citizens from the clutches of plankton, you actually have to fight Neptune. You have to fight Neptune, who's under the control of plankton, and you fight him and you get past his first phase, and then one of the most best things that any game has done is it starts playing the remixed "I Wanna Rock" by Twisted Sister, yeah, as the final boss music, which is "I'm a Goofy Goober," which was played at the end of the film. As it's just so good, man. It's so good. I love it so much. But anyways, yeah, like the game itself does a really good job of turning a lot of the locations from the films into conceivable levels that don't break any, like, they don't break boundaries or anything, but they're competently made levels based on locations in the film. So it works, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
No, yeah.
I don't know. Just
It's just like it's a
guess-
good, it's a well-designed game. It's good. It's confident. Yes.
I mean, you've never played it, so I get it. You don't have anything to discuss with it. But yeah, there's also the opposite, which is turning video games into movies. And we've seen how well that's gone.
Yep.
The biggest and most notable of them being the Super Mario Brothers film, which will never be unremembered or never be forgotten, rather. Say that in a more better way, stupid brain. Yeah, I need to stop doing that. But yeah, because the reason I don't like that is because I notice it and it bothers me, because I can imagine somebody listening being like, oh my God, get to the point. Stop stuttering and saying 1,000 times.
I know. I've been noticing my audio, my stutters and that sort of thing too.
Yeah, it just bothers me. Also saying that, I need to stop doing that too. However, getting back to your host topic, which is, yes, overall, I think it can work, but there are more examples of it not working than there are working.
Yeah.
And like I said before, I don't think personally that making a movie for it to be turned into a video game is a good idea, because we probably won't make a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never make any kind of art piece or product or anything with the idea that it's going to be turned into anything or be remembered or anything. Just make what you enjoy, and if it garners attention, enjoy the attention it garners. Just, you don't have to going into, especially if it's a hobby or a passion project, going into anything like that with the expectation that it's going to gain you anything is not a healthy mindset.
No.
It's going to really destroy any will you have for your projects, because you'll constantly question if it's going to gain you anything, and if it doesn't, you'll be really disappointed that it didn't, because you were expecting it, and you shouldn't expect it. It should genuinely come as not necessarily a surprise, but it should come less as an absolute, and more of a, I'm cool with this not gaining me anything. That was very off topic, but anyways, yes, I guess we kind of answered your host topic. Yeah,
I think so.
Matthew, do you have a host topic? I already asked you, but I'll ask you again.
No.
Okay.
Sigh.
No sigh. Well, that was very entertaining.
Not enough space.
What?
Not enough space to do that properly.
Yeah, that's great. I was trying to think of a host topic before the show, but I don't. I'll just cut it there. Here's the thing. I promise that I will have a host topic next week, even though next week we're gonna have a lot to talk about next week because of E3. Never mind. Anyways, I don't have a host topic this week, so sorry about that. Let's just move on to the news, I guess. Anything else to say before we move on? All right, then. So, the first bit of news we have today is a explanation and or statement from Jim Ryan explaining why they do not. Jim Ryan is the head of Sony, by the way. Why they do not focus very much on old, or focused on support for old games on PS5 and such. Yeah, he's in the statement, he's insisted that he does not hate old games. And there's an old quote that is brought up a lot when Sony is questioned about their what's the term? About whether they care about their old games or not, which is this is a quote from Jim Ryan: the PS1 and PS2 games, they look ancient. Like, why would anybody play this? That's an old quote from 2017 regarding different versions of Gran Turismo. He said at the time, it's often brought up, but specifically, yeah, he says he gets frustrated when people bring up that quote. So he says, comes frustrated at still being hit over the head with this one. He said, when I was trying to make, obviously not very well, it's just how great the PS4 version looked and how far the series had evolved. I certainly wasn't trying to be disrespectful to our heritage. Pointed to PS5 back launch, Astro's Playroom as evidence of Sony's commitment to its past, even though, for those of you who don't know, Astro's Playroom is not old. It might have references to older things in PlayStation's history, but Astro's Playroom was a character invented for the PS4, which came out not very long ago. That is not the past as far as their history is concerned. So specifically, he says, what is important to recognize when considering this question about designing a new platform is that time and engineering and resource and money are all finite, and that important trade-offs have to be made in terms of what is included and what's not. And when they asked, does Sony plan to officially enable compatibility with PS1 games in any way, he had no comment. Sony Ryan said it likes the franchise remakes and new entry model, when with PS4 remake of Ratchet and Clank PS2 and this week's release of a brand new Ratchet and Clank game on PS5. We believe this approach keeps our IPs fresh and contemporary, Ryan said. So basically what he's saying is that, I mean, it's just kind of whatever. It's a bit of corporate speaking, but he's basically saying they can't necessarily do it or won't necessarily do it because of time and resources, which pretty sure both of those things can be fixed with money, which they have. And also, like,
The time
I'm just
part?
saying, here's the thing. I get that specifically the PS3 was a weird console when it first released, because it's actually weird. It's weirdly hard to emulate things on the PS3 because of the way it was designed. It has like a special chipset that is not even in production anymore. So the PS3 was a very strange console at the time, and it was kind of hard to crack it and make something that could be emulated. But I mean, like, they're a multi-million-dollar company. People have since cracked PlayStation 3 emulation. That's a thing. It exists in our modern day. We can emulate things on the PS3. So if a bunch of schmucks on the internet can do it, why can't they?
I see. Yeah, they're rich.
Also, like, just in general, it's really weird how they handle backwards compatibility, or the lack thereof, I guess, because, like, the way Xbox does it isn't technically better. I mean, it's better than their system, but it's still not great, which is Xbox Series X and S can run those games and Xbox One games natively, and it can also run most games from their entire backlog natively, as long as it's like added to the system, which they keep trying to update each month. So they are doing something, which is better than Sony's nothing. But it's still technically not a great system, especially since it's exorbitantly expensive for no reason. Yeah. Sure. The other thing I wanted to say about that is the, like, it also just kind of worries me. Like, I'd really enjoy for them. Oh, that's right. Sorry. I got ahead of myself. The other thing I wanted to point out of his statement is that he says he enjoys the model of basically remaking games or creating new IPs, which is kind of a weird way of looking at it, because not every game is going to be getting a remake. You know, there are certainly games that probably will never get a remake. And it has, you know, it just comes down to like people like the option. There's plenty of people that use the option as well. Like, obviously, like every console, like from the PS1 all the way up to the PS4, their entire backlogs are humongous. And as long as you own one of those consoles, you have access to that backlog. But technology is not exactly great at keeping itself running forever. These things will eventually fail, which is why people want to preserve them on newer systems so they can be played. And we don't have to worry about, you know, PS2s, PS1s, or PS3s eventually dying, because that's just what technology does after a while. It just dies. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way of things. You know,
Yeah.
the games industry is not that great at preserving its past, unfortunately. Most of the preservation of the games industry comes from fans.
I was gonna say, why would they want to? That once they sell you the game, they want to sell you another game.
The problem with that, though, is that they don't actually want to sell you another game. They want to sell you the same game over and over and over again.
Well, maybe that's because people want to buy the same game over and over and over again. Have you thought of that? Have you thought of that?
Listen, I can't help the fact that their system works. I don't want it to work. It's a terrible system. Yes, it generates shit tons of revenue for them, but it's a short-sighted system that will fail eventually. Especially with like what was it, live service games, which is basically a lot of things. Like Call of Duty's Warzone is a live service that, like, it doesn't go anywhere, is my problem. It's like, it doesn't go anywhere. Eventually the servers will have to be shut down. Eventually they'll have to create a new thing that is also a live service. And also there's too many live services trying to grasp people's wallets. People don't have enough money to do everything, so they end up doing nothing.
Well,
or at least, well, more and more people, from what I understand, are sort of going down the path of just not buying new games. And just, you know, enjoying the old, going through their backlogs, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah. Which is good. If the game industry, if the game industry starts floundering, then it won't get our money.
Unfortunately, I don't think it's ever going to flounder. We're going to have a crash at some point. Well, not a crash, but the bubble, their revenue bubble is going to pop at some point, and my God, is that going to cause a lot of problems? Because it's a short sight. Like, they can't keep making this much money. They just can't. They can't keep up with it. It's a finite cycle that's going to fail at some point, because the more revenue you rake in, like shareholders keep upping their expectations for what amount of money the company is going to bring in. So like there have been aspects where it's like, I believe it was, I don't remember what game, like there's been a lot of games and stories of like games that raked in literally millions upon millions of dollars that was considered a failure by the shareholders because it didn't meet their expectations.
Wow.
Like it's it's this never-ending cycle of just wanting more and more and more money, but it's impossible to get up there because at some point you're not going. There's only a limited amount of people in the world that are able to buy your product, which is why they're using live service, because that means they can keep making you purchase it. So instead of having a finite number of people purchase it, they can make you keep paying for it, which is the only reason their revenue keeps jumping. It's literally the only reason they keep making more money, because they're going to run out eventually. And once that bubble pops, there's going to be a lot of bad things that are going to happen. You know?
Do you know? Could you specify a specific bad thing?
Well, once the bubble pops, specifically, shareholders are going to start backing out of their companies because they realize they can no longer meet their expectations. And instead of lowering their expectations, they're just going to back out because they can't make any more money, which is going to really buck the horse on a lot of companies who need funding. So massive publishers will probably lose a lot of staff because that's the first thing that goes. You know, they're going to lose a lot of staff, which in turn is going to make them lose money because they need staff to create things. So it's just a self-defeating aspect. The only reason I say that is because I have literally no faith in corporations. If I had an ounce of faith, I would expect they do something else, but I don't. So that's what I expect them to do. So, you know, a lot of companies will basically go bankrupt and then we'll start over. And then we'll get to the point again, and then it'll happen again.
Or a bunch of companies will be on the edge of bankruptcy and they'll be bailed out.
Possibly. All I'm saying, by the way, this bubble I'm talking about is not going to affect the indie market whatsoever.
Probably
the indie market don't have shareholders to uphold. To shareholders over their shoulder, like money. So it's not going to affect the indie scene whatsoever. It's just going to affect a lot of the really big publishers, which is not the worst thing, you know. Unless they learn something, it's just an inevitability. It's just the way our system is built, you know. Our system is built on a curve of ever expansion, but there's a ceiling that you can never break through at some point.
That may or may not be true.
I mean,
I personally think we can continue expanding basically indefinitely, but I don't think that we can expand at the rate that I don't think you can expand it at a fast rate. Like, there are always going to be more games, right?
I mean, yeah, but that's the thing. The thing with shareholders is that they literally expect higher revenue each year.
Yes, we're probably not going to have higher revenue each year.
That's what I'm saying, though, is like they're short-sighted. They want higher revenue, even though it's impossible. So they back out, companies go bankrupt, and we start the cycle over again. I'm just saying. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, actually, I was gonna say it's not like I'm helping the cause, but like I'm technically not helping the cause, but I'm not hurting it either, because I don't think I've bought a game. When's the last time I bought a game that would actually give money
Persona
to
5.
I haven't bought that.
You bought Persona 5. Don't you have Persona 5?
No.
Oh, what do you have?
I have Persona 4 on the PS2, which was a used game. So that revenue went to some schmuck who gave it to me.
But he had to buy it.
I mean, yeah, at some point. Well, my point is that games, after they have their new shelf life and have been cycled into the used games market. At that point, none of that revenue is actually going to the companies. It's just going to whoever sells it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I messed up. You're right.
So that's what I mean. It's like I genuinely can't remember the last time I bought a game that wasn't at least 5 years old. Like,
you remember that Door Monster sketch I showed you?
Door Monster?
Yeah, that video where the dude who is playing games from 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Slowly working his way up through them.
Oh, I guess, okay, that's okay. I bought Smash. The Switch is the only console the Switch is my newest console, and it's the only console I'm sort of funneling money into. But at the same time, Nintendo, even though it's the largest corporation in Japan, I think it is anyways. No, it's probably not. It's one of the biggest corporations in Japan.
Probably the biggest game corporation. Well,
definitely the biggest game corporation, but it's one of the biggest corporations in Japan. Even though they are a corporation, they do things a little differently and don't subscribe to a lot of the things I hate about the games industry. So I guess I don't mind giving them money as much. Also, they support indie devs, so
No, I like Nintendo a lot because they're much closer to like Steam almost. It just feels like they're closer to Steam than like a big developer. They don't feel like a big terrifying thing.
Nintendo is the only game publisher / creator in the industry that every console generation tried something different. Like every single console Nintendo has made has had a weird, unique feature. The original SNES / Famicom had speakers in the controller that actually fed into the game for certain things.
Wow.
The NES, which was the North American version, didn't have that, but that was mainly to appeal to the North Americans, the US at the time. The NES had I don't remember the name of the chip, but it had a special chip in it that allowed basically pseudo 3D at the time, so it allowed like pseudo 3D with like sprites, which was really cool. Then you had the N64, which was the first 3D console period. And it was also the first console with a control stick on a controller. Then you had the GameCube, which most people probably don't even remember because it was a failure, unfortunately. Even though the GameCube was a solid system. The only weird thing, the problem with the GameCube is that its discs were tiny. It has tiny discs, which were really hard to develop for. So it didn't have a lot of third-party support, and most of the stuff on it was in-house, but it had a lot of really good games. It had a lot of really good games on it. Wind Waker, Mario Sunshine, Mario Kart, or Double Dash, some of the best Mario parties in the series. What else? It had Twilight Princess on it, technically. It was also the first console to have Resident Evil 4 on it, ironically. And Resident Evil 4 is heralded as one of the best games in the series. So there's that.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then you had the Wii, which literally printed money for Nintendo at the time and was the start of the motion control thing that everybody else jumped on because it was making money. Then you had the Wii U, which was a financial failure because it wasn't marketed very well, and it was just kind of it was the wrong thing at the wrong time. And then you had the Switch, which is currently their one of the best consoles they've ever created.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nintendo.
Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing. That's one of the things I find weird about Nintendo is like they just do things their own way. And part of that probably comes from the fact that they're a Japanese company, because a lot of Japanese companies do things their own way.
That's true. Like the industry standard does this. Right. But doing this other thing is more intelligent. Really?
Well,
Yeah, because blah blah blah. And they give an explanation. It's like, yeah, but there's trade-offs. Okay, but we're gonna take those trade-offs and see if it works. And then it works.
I'm not sure if it's necessarily more intelligent per se, because it just kind of comes with the territory of Japan.
Wait, no, I don't mean more intelligent. I mean more open. So like if the industry way of making cars is to make the parts in this particular order, Japan would make them in a different. They'd make them in a slightly different way.
Yeah,
And that'd be more efficient, or more not necessarily more efficient. It'd be less efficient but more resilient. And so
I
they trade
suppose.
efficiency for resiliency.
Yeah, I
Things
think
like that.
But yeah, because there's definitely a lot of things I would enjoy Nintendo to do. Like, I'd enjoy if they stopped DMCA-ing all fan creations ever, because it'd be cool if they stopped doing that. It'd also be cool if they stopped using really shitty internet for all of their online games. I understand why they do. It's because Japan's internet is the standard. Japanese internet is the same shit they had in like the 80s. Like they just never changed it. So that's why it's like that. But it'd be nice if they could change it. Like it would just be nice if the corporate side of Nintendo would be a little less cutthroat when it came to fan creations and other things that I feel like they could improve upon. But,
I was curious. Do you know what the most biggest, I guess, company in Japan is?
What?
You want to guess?
Is it Nintendo?
No, not even close.
No, okay, that's fine.
This
biggest...
company, this company is 100 times bigger than Nintendo. No, okay.
I mean, listen,
it's 50 times bigger than Nintendo.
I never stated that Nintendo. Well, I did technically state that Nintendo was the biggest company, but I said it's probably not after I did that.
In terms of profits, it's because it sells a very expensive object.
Oh, okay. Is it grit? Is it because of the whaling that's still happening?
I mean, it's Toyota.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, Nintendo is definitely one of the biggest game companies in Japan, at the very least.
You know that Toyota is located in Toyota?
Yeah, that's not super surprising.
Toyota is located in Toyota, Japan.
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's fine. I mean, at least we have confirmation about that.
I was curious if you could guess the second biggest one. It might be a little tricky.
Nintendo?
No.
Okay. I didn't expect that to be the case.
The list is 50 times bigger than Nintendo is Toyota. And then there's all the other companies are below Nintendo, which means Toyota is just 50 times bigger than every other company.
Yeah, that's fair. That seems fine, right? No.
I
mean, I didn't expect it to be. Anyways, we're getting off topic. I don't know what the topic was, but we're getting off of it.
Yes, sorry.
What was our topic? I just kind of started ranting about things. Oh, right. That's right. We were on news. Jim Ryan, backwards compatibility. That's right. Yeah, Nintendo, I guess I will say. Oh, yeah, go for it. What were you saying?
Nintendo does an okay job of backwards compatibility.
Yeah, that is one thing.
Always did.
Basically, well, the Switch is a bit of an outlier because the 3DS, basically, I mean, their handheld market has basically been upgrading since. So it's like, the Nintendo, like the Game Boy Advance can play Game Boy Advance and Game Boy games. The 3DS can play DS and 3DS games. The Switch, because of its hardware, can't play anything else, but they do have the internal virtual consoles for the NES and SNES. Their catalogs aren't that great, but they're there, I guess. And other than that, like, I mean, they are remastering old games. I mean, the remaster of Skyward Sword's coming out soon. Probably get more details on it E3 or something, but that's coming out. That's a remaster of a 10, 11-year-old game, I believe, because it came out on the Wii. So there's that. Like they do, like they have always cared about backwards compatibility in their consoles. And what's funny about this is that the way they did backwards compatibility for the Wii specifically is that they literally just put a GameCube inside of the Wii. That's literally, they literally just did that. They literally just built a GameCube inside of the Wii.
Wow.
So whenever you put a GameCube disc in, it just switches over to that at hardware. And I'm fairly certain the Wii U was kind of very similar to the Wii anyways. So it can play Wii and Wii U games. So it just has the hardware native to it. Instead of having weird chipsets or anything like that, it just has the hardware. Like for the PS3, it has the ability to play it had the ability to play PS2 games, the original did. But the chips for that were really weird and not very functional, unfortunately. So like instead of just building a PS2 into the device, they like had this chipset that allowed it to play PS2 games, but those were constantly failing, and after a certain point they stopped the manufacture of them. And also you can't get like if you have an old PS3 that could play PS2 games, you can no longer get that fixed. They just won't fix it. Like you could send it to the company and they just won't fix it. Or at least they won't fix the PS2 part because it won't work anymore. And I believe like the PS3 can actually run PS1 games natively. And I don't remember if it's a chipset or they just built a PS1 into it or not, but I don't know. That's one thing I don't know. But it's backwards compatibility is important because it keeps the gaming industry history alive. And it's also important because it forces companies to make things open.
Yeah.
I get why they don't want to do it because it costs money, but
And it doesn't help sell their new games.
yeah, that as well. Anyways, yeah, so that was our first bit of news. That was a very long, I went off on a tangent a couple times. Anyways, yeah, so Jim Ryan and Sony were basically making excuses for why they weren't doing that. Moving forward onto our last bit of news for the day, which is so Activision announces Spyro's return. Hooray! Spyro's coming back, except he isn't in a mobile game. So there's this mobile game, right? Called Crash Bandicoot on the Run. For season 3 of the game, they're allowing you to have a Spyro skin for Crash, and I think that's about it. They're doing maybe there's some other stuff. So free to play mobile game, Crash Bandicoot on the Run. If you're curious, that game is made by King Candy Crush developers, which Activision owns, because of course they do. Spyro, yeah, it's just it's so you can't see my face right now, but I'm very upset. Spyro has been chopped into tiny pieces and put back in the ground where he once was, along with Crash, apparently. It's just so disappointing. Because it's really bizarre in a way that they're doing this. because like Toys for Bob, who did the Spyro Reignited trilogy remake, and that was very successful, have been put on full Call of Duty Warzone own, like they've been completely moved over to Call of Duty Warzone development, which made a lot of staff at Toys for Bob leave, and we talked about this before. And Toys for Bob also did Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, which was also very successful. And Vicarious Visions, who did the Crash, what was it called? The Crash Insane trilogy, which was the remake of the 3 original Crash games, was also like torn apart and put on Blizzard staff, which we also reported on. So it's like both of the development teams that were working on Spyro and Crash in tandem, essentially, have been torn apart and put on other things. We're never gonna get Crash or Spyro ever again. Like, we didn't even get a new Spyro game. I'm very disappointed and very upset. So yeah. Apparently Crash Bandicoot on the Run has been like one of the best. It's been making a lot of money for King. Almost 1.5 million in a week. Through it was downloaded around half as many times. Only Candy Crush Jelly Sucker earned more, apparently, for King's development. So it's making money, I guess. I'm just, childhood icons being destroyed before my eyes. That's all I have to say about it.
Well, I was never much of a Sonic fan, so I don't really care.
But I'm not talking about Sonic.
What?
I'm not talking about Sonic, though.
Isn't Crash Bandicoot Sonic?
Crash Bandicoot is not Sonic. Crash Bandicoot and Spyro were PS1 mascot platformers back in the 90s.
Okay.
Created by Activision, created by Insomniac and Naughty Dog. You might recognize the name Naughty Dog from Last of Us. Yeah, and also Insomniac from Crash Bandicoot, Insomniac from Ratchet and Clank series. So like they've been doing good stuff in their own right, but just could we have at least gotten a new Spyro game before they killed him again? It would have been nice if we had gotten another Spyro game, a true fourth Spyro game, a true sequel to the original trilogy, made by Vicarious Visions or Toys for Bob. I don't care which. They both did fantastic jobs. Anyways, yeah, that's basically the article. Yeah, that's basically it. It's not like a lot to discuss. It's not like there's a lot to discuss about it specifically. It's just real disappointed. But anyways, so yeah, that's the news for today.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all the news we have today. I guess I'll just say my final piece on this. Fuck Activision. No, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Being overly confrontational is not a good thing. I really those things where it's just just don't being overly confrontational with a studio you want to learn anything is not a good thing. Just don't be overly confrontational. It's not a good idea. Anyways, yes, like I said, shut up, me. Stop being stupid. That was the news. Moving on to shameless self-promotion, because that's the next part after news, usually. Unless anything to add or say or do whatever before we just move on.
No,
Okay. All right then.
I don't think either of us ever say much during the news portions.
I mean, that's fine. You guys don't pay much attention to news, which is fine. You could watch E3 if you want. I don't know. You might learn something. Anyways, so yes, shameless self-promotion, the part of the show where we shamelessly self-promote, which is really hard to say for some reason. Anyways, yes, shameless self-promotion. So, you know the drill. Matthew, what have you got coming up this week, and where can people find it, and you, and stuff like that?
Assuming everything works out properly with other people's schedules, I will have a video coming out on Tuesday I should have a video coming out on Tuesday. Assuming everything works properly.
All right. Do you want to divulge anything about the video?
It's a D&D, like, graphic audio radio show-esque thing. You know, how all the sound effects and stuff, music, radio drama, I guess. That's a good way.
All right.
And I don't
It's a
want
D&D
to
radio
spoil stuff.
drama. That's a very good way to put it. It's very
D&D radio
professionally
drama.
made.
What?
It's very professionally made. Some of it, the performance was not very professional because it was cut from a Discord chat.
Okay,
But-
that part might not be That might not be uploaded this Tuesday.
Okay.
Wait, what are you uploading? This is the thing I kept. For those of you who don't remember, I believe this is the thing I kept shilling for at the end of every podcast.
It's actually
but-
not.
I stopped doing that. What? It
And-
isn't.
No.
No, I
It's a
still need to
different
transfer
thing?
the files over to Devin's computer,
Jesus
Devin.
Christ.
Also, I don't.
You are
Yeah.
so far behind. We're gonna finish the campaign by the time you upload the first part.
Stop. And what are you talking about? You're not.
He's not
Nah,
wrong.
no.
I mean, he's probably wrong.
What?
I almost want to make my own D&D show just to fucking prove you wrong. I don't know, just to do it before you at this point.
Oh, well, you're too late because I'm already doing with a different group as well, except a different style, the radio drama style. Where it's just
Whatever.
audio.
Just continue shill. Continue.
Yeah,
to
anyways,
shill.
that's going to be going up on the Mystical Meandal Renderings channel. And then I'm still working on stuff for my other channel, which is a gaming channel, Hologram. If you want to check that out. And you can also check me out on Twitch, currently under Mystical Meanderings.
Which character was Hologram? I'm sorry, it's really bothering me.
Hologram died to the vampire.
Which vampire?
The one we
Wait.
fought in the ball. At the ball.
Oh, that's right. Hologram was Parker's game. Oh, it was so long ago. Anyways,
One of
sorry
my
for
first-
interrupting you.
One of my
Oh,
first.
continue.
I think he was one of my first 5th edition characters that actually followed the 5th edition rule set.
That's possible. Anyways, yeah. Are you continue to shill
And then ignore Twitter.
because it doesn't exist as far as
Yep.
we know. So yeah, so that's what you got coming up this week.
Yep.
All right.
This Tuesday. I don't have a specific time when it'll come out, but it will be released this Tuesday.
All right then.
And yes, I'm going to be
So,
editing a lot after this.
I'd hope so. Anyways, but okay, so that's what you've been sir. That's what you got coming up.
Yup.
Okay. Devin, what do you got coming up this whack? And where can people find it? And where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at oh shoot, I even forgot the name. No, what's it called? 1 second. It's called something Ragamuffin. It's called the Upstart Ragamuffin. You can find me at the Upstart Ragamuffin, which is what I changed my channel name to again.
Is
Because
this a new channel?
no. So Deliot Z is hard to spell, and it's a name where you have to actually spell it out to someone in order to figure out what it is. So I changed it to Evan Hart because I like the name Evan Hart. But when you search Evan Hart, you get a whole bunch of different Evan Harts. So I changed it to the Upstart Ragamuffin Evan Hart.
Okay.
If you search the Upstart Ragamuffin, you'll get my channel.
All right then.
And I just realized I don't think I'm upload. I mean, I might upload something there at some point. I'm kind of tired and busy.
What about your other 3 channels?
I should upload some. I should figure out something. I have some sketches I need to record. My other channels are Blingdon, which I am locked out of because I forgot the email that accesses it. And then the third channel is So I've Been Reading an Encyclopedia. And that should be having another video. It'll be about Abbas the First, or Anslo Avar, who was an architect.
All right. What about Dev Mafu?
Dev Mafu will have random stuff. I don't know.
Whatever you feel like.
Dev Mafu could have anything on it. Dev Mafu Gaming is just it's where I put videos that I don't want to put on the professional channels.
All right then. So you said you're tired, but just to confirm, do you actually have anything this week? What'd you say?
Yeah, no. Currently, I have a lot of different projects that are all being worked on. None of them are started. Like they're started, but none of them have a schedule on them. There we go. So I have plenty of time to just not worry about them.
I see.
I should probably dig into one of those later today, but I gotta clean the garage. So I'll probably clean the garage after the podcast, and then I don't know.
All right then.
Choose something.
All right. So is that it?
Yeah. I really
right,
wish I
before-
could make videos like Stephen Fitzgerald. He can create so many videos so fast, so much ideas.
Well, he's got a good workflow, I guess.
Yeah. Wish I could do
But,
that.
Yes. So moving on to me. Before I
Yeah.
tell you what I have coming up, I'm just gonna say I'm actually kind of disappointed in my computer right now. It hasn't turned off once. I'm really goddamn upset about that because I'm really annoyed because I did this whole thing because like, just in case, blah blah blah, and I could have been recording this and really annoyed at that. Anyways,
It's actually not unlikely that the reason that your computer hasn't shut off yet is because you don't have your webcam on and you're not recording.
I mean, that's possible, I suppose.
Probably.
I just
why.
think it's really annoying that my computer hasn't even attempted to shut itself off.
Yeah.
Just it really pushes my griddle, if you know what I mean. I don't even know what that means.
Upgrades.
Anyways,
Do you know how actually we can talk about this later, or just how we're gonna get the SD card and stuff over?
no,
We'll figure that out.
it's fine. I'll swing by later today.
Okay.
Anyways,
Whatever.
so moving swiftly onwards to what I have going on. So as always, you can find me on this channel, bada bing, bada boom, and nowhere else, I think, as far as I'm aware. I will continue to be uploading the podcast as usual. Next week's podcast is going to be big and exciting because we will be covering the entirety of E3 Summer Games Fest, the Microsoft Bethesda standalone conference, and anything else that happened during that entire time period. We'll be covering all of it, or at least the stuff that I think is worth covering. It's gonna be a hell of a goddamn episode.
I think I might try to invite someone.
Like if it depends. Like Max might be free. I'll ask Max if he's free for that. I know he said he specified that unless he says he's free, he probably isn't, but I'll text him and see if he's free so we can get him on here. And then maybe I'll invite a fifth person to actually ingest this information, because holy shit, it's going to be a lot.
So that at least
I hope
3
you're
people are
ready
talking
for that. So if you didn't feel like watching everything E3 related, just watch next week's podcast and you'll know everything, or at least everything I thought was worth mentioning. Which is probably everything, because I'm a goddamn insano. Anyways, outside of that, like I've said before, I have some video plans. Specifically, I have a Dark Souls 2 video in the works, which requires me to play through the game, so I'm doing that. But just as like a quick hint, I don't know when that's going to be up, but it's basically going to be a video specifically about my pure raw thoughts about the game, and that's it. Those seem to do well on YouTube, video essays as they're called. Anyways, also you can find me on Twitter, or the podcast, the Gaming the Discussion on Twitter at gaming, the discussion, or gaming the discussion, or whatever. I don't post very much there because I just don't use Twitter. I post when the episode goes up, and I retweet random things, and other than that, I don't post much. So there's that. I'm not one to, I don't get it, honestly. I don't get it. I just don't get Twitter. Yeah.
Neither do I. Apparently Max seems to. He uses it a lot.
I mean, I guess. I mean, he just posts random things. I don't know, man. I don't get
several times a day.
Yes. And yeah, that's it from me. Obviously, I only have the one channel. I don't have anything else. So don't attempt to find me anywhere else, you weirdos.
Attempt to find other places.
No, don't do that.
What none of you know is that he has. I created a secret Instagram account for him. That's just pictures of his nose zoomed in really close.
I'm sure some people would really love that. Very, very strange people.
Really?
I mean,
pictures.
Yeah.
The nose.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. I'm sure there are some people who love that. I'm not, I'm not going to destroy your innocent heart with my terrible one, but I know things. I'm not going to go out of my way to destroy both of your innocent hearts with my degenerate heart, but you know. Anyways, yeah, that was shameless self-promotion. So yeah, that's god damn. I really need to drink more. I really need to do anything, actually, like voice exercises or drink more water or anything before the podcast, so I don't stumble over my words like a goddamn fool.
You don't need water. Humans don't need that. That's a myth.
No, I'm pretty sure I need it. I'm pretty sure my body is designed to need it.
No, you just need to drink 5 cups of caffeine every day.
Pure caffeine? That will literally kill me.
Espresso coffees. Hot shot espressos. 4 a day.
4 shots of espresso and 3 5-hour energies. That'll do me wonders. It's definitely not going to give me a heart attack.
4 times a day all at once.
Jesus Christ, that would kill you so fast. Anyways.
Oh, and no sleep, that's a myth too. It's actually unhealthy for you.
Don't do that.
I don't think anyone would believe that.
Yes, that was shameless self-promotion. Anyway, thank you all. Moving on to the end of the show. I guess I'll preface it, whatever. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of the GTD Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. You know, whatever. Like, comment, share, favorite, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know, I just have to say all of the rundowns like a scumlord. Anyway. Sorry. You can find everything we discussed. You can find people's channels, everything we discussed news-wise, in the description or pinned comment below, depending on where you watch this or listen to it. I don't know what you do. Maybe you did sit in front of your computer and watch the screen. I don't know.
Real interesting thing to watch. The fact that we had no trailers. And it was all talk.
Yes. But yeah. Words. Sorry. Why do I'm so bad at this?
No.
Yes, thank you much. Thank you for watching this episode of the GTD Podcast, and we will hopefully see you all next time.